Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Messer Financial Group's weekly webinars as we try to encourage the agents that work with us now to join in and continue to grow their education and product knowledge. We also want to thank those folks that maybe don't work with us yet that wanted to see what Messer's all about and kind of vet our opportunities and training that we provide to the agents that do work with us. So welcome to you guys as well. It's a very special webinar for me personally today, ladies and gentlemen. My father is a former United States Marine who served in Vietnam. So the topic of VA benefits, when this came up in a discussion with Humana, I was more than happy to champion presenting this to you guys today and talk about a great opportunity that exists, especially in the southeastern United States. For whatever reason, I don't know if we like to fight or what it is, but there's a great number of veterans that live in South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, and the other southeastern states. Just a rough estimate from the VA, could be as many as 2.5 million people in those three states alone that need your help. And although the number overall has decreased slightly as we lose some of our folks from the greatest generation in World War II, there's a number of folks that serve proudly in Korea and Vietnam that need our assistance, and there'll be a bunch of young people that have stepped up and served us so well in the Middle East in the last few years as well. To those folks that served with all the branches, we welcome you today. Thank you for your service, not only to those that served in the combat arms side of all of those forces, but also those that support them, as Mark can attest to, our guest speaker, to place one of those young people in harm's way in the field. It takes a number of people to support those guys to make sure that they have everything that they need to be successful in accomplishing their mission. So with that, we're very fortunate today to have someone who served honorably in the United States Marine Corps and has moved on to a civilian career with Humana and has taken on the role of a national sales trainer and executive as far as specializing in veteran benefits. So I'm going to turn it over to our good friend Mark McMullen. Mark, take it away, and we appreciate you being here today.
It's my pleasure, Jeff. Thank you very much for that warm and welcoming introduction. And on behalf of Humana, we want to acknowledge your father's service in Vietnam and wherever he is. Hopefully, he's resting peacefully or enjoying life. But we're grateful for him and the many men and women who served throughout our country's history in the military. So thank you. Thanks again for inviting me and for this opportunity to connect with your teams that are in the Southeast. I like to say I was reborn hard in a little town in a small corner of South Carolina, a little island that many people, maybe some of the folks on the phone who joined me there on Paris Island. So back in 1987. So I'm very fond and have great memories of the Southeast. So thanks for this opportunity. As Jeff mentioned, my name is Mark McMullen, and I am a member of what we call it Humana, the Humana Veteran Channel Team. We're a small but strong force of sales execs who cover the country for Humana. We're part of the Humana Market Point Sales Organization. And our role at Humana is simply to help all of our agents, whether you're an internal career agent or an external partner, such as yourselves, connect with and do good work for veterans in the communities that you're living and serving in. Today, as Jeff mentioned, I'm just here really to introduce you to the idea of working with veterans. It's a niche market that we want to encourage and hopefully inspire you to consider carving out to help you build and grow your business and your career with Messer Financial. Today, and today's also just kind of a primer, if you will, to a live training, in-person training we're going to have in Greenville, South Carolina on April 25th, I guess just in a couple of weeks here. And the full package of training that we offer include the modules that you're seeing on the screen right now. And today I'm really just going to do an introduction to the training, cover a section of why we ask a certain question that we ask, which I'll share with you in a few minutes. And then just start to do an introduction to veterans healthcare benefits and but then we'll do a much deeper dive on April 25th when we'll get together in Greenville. So, our goal here today is our goal in this training is to make it easier for you to interact and be a resource for veterans and their loved ones. We hope this will help you and Humana stand out in the communities that you're serving and help you earn more enrollments and referrals from veterans. To give you a sense of how Humana is engaged with the veteran community, probably since the early days, many of you are familiar with Humana, but since the early days of Humana, we've had the honor of serving the military and improving the health and well-being of veterans. It's a relationship that we value and consider to be a great privilege to serve. Financially, Humana has supported programs around the country, such as the Entrepreneurship Boot Camp for Veterans with Disabilities, which is a program that serves post 9/11 veterans as they start out their own businesses. It's a program that we're very proud to have contributed from the Humana Foundation, and it continues to thrive today throughout the country. Organizationally, Humana focuses a great deal on hiring veterans and spouses of veterans, and we have roughly between 8 and 10% of our entire workforce is either a spouse or a veteran or a spouse of a veteran. So we're very proud of that initiative to hire folks after they leave the service. And philanthropically, many of you, and some of you may have been involved in some of these projects, but over the past couple of years, Humana associates and partners like yourselves from 30 communities from around the country have come together and donated over 30 tons of clothing in support of homeless veterans. Those are just some of the examples. What you're seeing on the screen here is some screenshots and images from us, Humana, at the VFW National Convention in New Orleans last summer. Since 2012, Humana has also been a national sponsor of the VFW, which is one of the 3 largest veteran service organizations in the country. And since that time frame, since 2012, we've grown the VFW members that have gone on to become Humana Health Plan members has grown by over 110, almost 120% since 2012. And just earlier this year, we signed a renewed sponsorship relationship with the VFW that will run for 5 years. And we are the exclusive Medicare healthcare healthcare partner with the VFW. We're with our Medicare Advantage, our prescription drug plans, as well as our Medicare supplement plans. So, we're very proud of that relationship and honored to be able to serve the VFW in that way. Additionally, you may be familiar with all this good work that we do has also led to Humana obviously having relationship with TRICARE for many years. We've had contracts with TRICARE for many years, but in January of this year, last year we were awarded and started in January of this year the TRICARE East. We have the relationship with 6 million lives of active duty and retired military members and their family members in the TRICARE East, which covers a 30-state region. And so we're obviously very proud and honored to be able to have earned that relationship as well. We really want everyone who represents Humana to feel comfortable and confident engaging with veterans and their loved ones. In the past, some agents have been reluctant to engage because they felt underinformed about veterans and the health benefits available to them. So the purpose of the information, I'm sharing with you today, and we'll dive deeper into in a couple of weeks, is to help make you a better informed resource to veterans. We want you to look forward to and create opportunities to engage the veterans and veteran-related organizations in your communities. And the information that we share hopefully will boost your confidence and understanding of veterans and their benefits and their needs. Excuse me for a second. As I mentioned, Humana is a proud and active supporter of military veterans, and we want to ensure that you keep that tradition going on our behalf. Jeff mentioned a few minutes ago about some of the statistics in the Southeast, and some of you may also continue to ask, why work with veterans? and Jeff very clearly defined, there's a great opportunity in the Southeast. And even to sort of give you further a compelling reason is 20% of all Medicare beneficiaries are veterans, as you can see on the screen. And when you factor in spouses of veterans, that takes that number up to over a third of all the Medicare beneficiaries that you're going to be meeting with on a daily basis is either a veteran or a spouse of a veteran. And oftentimes we think of the military veterans by war generations, as Jeff mentioned. We have obviously World War II, Korean War, Vietnam era, Persian Gulf or Desert Storm era, and post 9/11. And it's not likely, as you're probably very familiar with, Medicare trends and enrollment trends and Medicare marketing trends. The World War II and maybe even in some cases the Korean War veterans are probably not folks that are going to be at a point in their life where they're probably switching plans or making decisions about their healthcare plans. So, our focus is, and we want to encourage you to think about focusing on the Vietnam veteran population and the Vietnam War era men and women who served during that time frame. Because of the 9 million veterans who are on Medicare, nearly 7 million of those are Vietnam veterans. So, and as they continue to, age into Medicare, as you all know, the statistics on a daily basis, how many folks are aging into Medicare. Our focus is to think about how we can work with and connect with and do good work with the Vietnam veterans and their family members. As we continue on, one of probably the core of our veteran strategy is to have and inspire every agent and associate who contacts a Medicare beneficiary for the first time is to ask this very simple question: are you a veteran? We feel that this will allow you to thank the veteran. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, it's really in Humana's DNA that we honor and recognize and want to express our gratitude for the service to the nation that the veterans and the family members and the sacrifices that the family members have made over time. You may have common experiences. You may have shared experiences like Jeff has had, and many others who are on the phone likely have had. And it's going to help you start building that trusting, that rapport with that person, that trusting relationship that we all work so hard to develop with folks to earn their business. And it's also going to help you begin to understand what their healthcare options are, or what their healthcare needs are, and maybe what some of the benefits they might already be receiving, just simply by asking that question: are you a veteran? So with that, before I go any further in the presentation, I do want to do a quick poll, and I'm not sure you'll be able to do it on the screen. I don't think you can, but we'd really highly encourage all of you, if there are any veterans out there, we'd love to see you pop that into the chat box. I don't know if you're all in a conference room or at your computers at your home offices or wherever you are. We'd love to know who the veterans are that are part of the Messer Financial Group. And as Jeff mentioned earlier, on behalf of Humana, I just want to express our gratitude, our thanks to the veterans who are on the call today for your service. For the veterans and for everyone else, perhaps you're a family member of a veteran, just like Jeff is. Maybe you're a spouse of a veteran, or you have a close friend who is a veteran. And for everyone else, we just want to thank you for being mindful of and supporting military veterans. I'm not seeing anybody. I guess they opened the poll there, but we'll continue the presentation. And as you note that your veteran status, we'll definitely express our gratitude for that. Additionally, on the screen, what you see, many of our associates, we have what's called a laptop skin. Really just a sticker. I'm sure you're familiar with these. That we have available if you'd like to put one of these on your computer. It's obviously just if you forget to ask the question as you're meeting with the folks, and as you pull out your computer to do your presentation or maybe do your enrollment, this will certainly prompt you or remind you to ask the question. And if you don't ask the question, it's going to be sitting right in front of the person you're meeting with, so they're going to ask you why you have that on there. But it does incite a lot of engagement with folks. So it's something, if you're interested in getting, just let us know, and we'll make sure we get some to Jeff, and he can get them distributed to you. One of the things that we want to really stress and point out is asking that question. It's not about getting more sales. We feel strongly that sales will come. You're going to benefit from this, but this is really about helping our nation's veterans. Like we said earlier, or I may have mentioned that, you will do well. We will all do well by doing good works with veterans in the communities that we serve. As I mentioned, Humana is a company that is passionate about helping veterans, and you all help people. So there's a great opportunity for you to help veterans in the community. And I just want to share with you an example of how you can make a difference just by simply asking that question. And you probably have had some similar experiences. But we had an agent who was working in, and there are dozens, if not hundreds, of these examples around the country. But just simply by asking these questions, we had an agent in Michigan during AEP was working at one of our provider partners, Oak Street Health. They were conducting a veterans appreciation event at their clinic. A veteran who was in some pretty tough shape made his way down and asked if he could come in and talk to him. And he was having many difficult issues accessing care at the VA and had a ton of health issues, and was in constant pain from a head injury that he sustained while he was on service. He told the agent Ryan that he called the crisis hotline, the VA crisis hotline, 4 times that week, and was actually considering ending his life. He was homeless for a while, and he told Ryan that he had been eating out of a dumpster behind a local grocery store. He did not have his Medicare card, but Ryan was able to help him get that information, obviously simply by calling Medicare. He was able to convince a doctor at the Oak Street Health facility, which, by the way, only sees Medicare Advantage members, Humana Medicare Advantage members. But he was able to get an appointment with a doctor to see him immediately. This was during AEP, before he could get his enrollment completed. And as a result of that, Ryan was able to enroll him in a Humana plan and get him prescribed his medication. But obviously that plan wasn't going to start until January 1st, but Ryan was able to look up a coupon for him to be able to afford his medicine until his plan started. And this new member, this veteran, this new Humana member couldn't believe how much Ryan was willing to help him out on that particular day in November. And Ryan, continuing to do his good work, as many of you do in your communities, was actually shortly after that working at a local food pantry that he had been working at for several years. And a doctor asked if he knew any local veterans that they could adopt for the holidays. And Ryan was able to refer this vet that he had just met just a few days before that, to the director of the food pantry. And that food pantry was obviously provided a very nice holiday season for the family. He was able to provide them meals throughout the holiday season. So again, those are just a story, and I'm sure many of you have had similar stories like that yourselves, or if you've heard of those. Some of the things that we want to do and we want to encourage you to do is, we're going to offer you an opportunity to complete the additional modules that we're going to have in a couple of weeks on April 25th in Greenville. So we want to encourage you to enroll in that session and come out and visit with us today. I can work on getting you these computer skins, and I want to encourage everybody to start asking that question and have conversations with many folks as you possibly can. And just let people know that you care and that you're there to help them out. So as far as veterans health care is concerned, one of the things that Jeff wanted me to do today is just sort of introduce some of the different health plans that veterans have available to themselves. I'm not going to do a real deep dive, and maybe Jeff wants to jump on and join me for a few minutes after I review this quickly with you and talk to you about some statistics here. But this is really, again, just an introduction to what we're going to do in a couple of weeks in Greenville. But one of the types of health plans that some veterans have available to enroll in is what's obviously called the VA Veterans Administration Healthcare. This type of plan, excuse me, just for 1 second. This plan, this health benefit that's available to some veterans, and is for veterans, some reservists, and National Guard members who meet eligibility and qualification requirements and receive treatment at a VA healthcare facility. This is probably our biggest opportunity when you're thinking about working with veterans. The VA, I'm a member of the VA healthcare system. The VA healthcare system offers a comprehensive it's a comprehensive integrated healthcare system that a veteran could literally get all of their care and services from. But sometimes the accessibility to the VA healthcare system and some additional benefits aren't available through the VA that a Medicare Advantage, that Medicare offers and a Medicare Advantage plan might offer. Think about when Jeff mentioned earlier, he mentioned about the Southeast. If you think about nationwide, there are about 18.5 million veterans nationwide. And as Jeff mentioned, that number is declining and will continue to decline. And of the 18 million veterans, 6 million of those veterans have access to the VA healthcare system. Now, of course, not all of those 6 million veterans are Medicare eligible, but as you can imagine, that of the 18 million veterans, there are 7 million Vietnam veterans. So a significant number of that 6 million that have access to the VA healthcare system do have access, or are Vietnam veterans and are going to be potential Medicare beneficiaries. The second benefit that some veterans have access to is TRICARE, and that's healthcare coverage for active and retired military and family members. When a TRICARE beneficiary, a military member or a veteran that has just what's known as TRICARE, and there are many different types of names of TRICARE, but once you become Medicare eligible, then your TRICARE benefit becomes TRICARE for life. Only about 10% of the population is on TRICARE, and when you think about the Medicare beneficiaries, a little less than 1 million of the veterans that have TRICARE for life. So it's an opportunity that we have, but it's a smaller opportunity, and we'll talk more about this in a couple of weeks. But TRICARE for life beneficiaries have very robust coverage. They've got the TRICARE for life plan operates similarly to a Medicare supplement plan, and it also includes drug benefits. So it's not a population that we would say that you should actively pursue to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan, but there are some circumstances when it might make sense for a TRICARE for life beneficiary to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan. And we'll talk more about that in a couple of weeks. Another term that you might hear is CHAMPUS, and that's actually the former name of the TRICARE program. So I just want to make you aware of that some veterans might, and even the VA sometimes uses the word CHAMPUS. But if somebody mentions CHAMPUS, then you just want to ask them to clarify if they mean TRICARE or TRICARE for life, and if they have that. And that sometimes is also confused with CHAMP VA, which is a third health benefit that some family members of veterans have access to. And again, this is not going to be a very big opportunity for us if you come across CHAMP VA beneficiaries. But CHAMP VA is a healthcare plan for family members of veterans who were severely injured or who died in or as a result of service. And CHAMP VA, once a CHAMP VA beneficiary becomes Medicare eligible, it offers very rich coverage, as the screen says. It is it's similar to TRICARE. It's different than TRICARE, but it's similar to TRICARE in a sense. It's like a Medicare supplement. It also has drug benefits. So again, there may be. It's not a community that we want to actively pursue to enroll in Medicare Advantage plans, but there will be some opportunities from time to time that you come across. So I just wanted to take a few minutes to introduce these different types of health plans, and we're really going to do a deep dive into them in a couple of weeks to talk about, how Medicare and Medicare Advantage plans can work well, especially with VA healthcare benefits, and how they we'll work with TRICARE and Champ VA if the opportunity comes up that you enroll somebody or somebody is interested in a Medicare Advantage plan. So Jeff, I'm not going to. That's really what I wanted to cover today. But if you wanted to ask some questions or add some additional dialogue, I'm happy to stay on here, of course.
Yeah, Mark, I appreciate that, and hopefully the agents have been able to glean a little bit of information from us today and realize that the purpose of today's webinar was to introduce them to some of the terms that they'll hear commonly when they do run across a veteran. I just want to remind the agents that are with us today, how often in a sales career can you position yourself to where what you're offering to do for your client not only benefits them without question, but also can have a significant impact on you financially. And I think a lot of us sometimes are concerned with that. And the ACA gave us that opportunity with the under 65 folks, and not only this market, but the special needs market that a lot of these agents work in independently as well, gives them that same sense of gratification and satisfaction when they do help someone. And I don't think that it's something that we should take lightly. I believe that there are very few people that can have the type of impact that an insurance agent can have on their client when they do that. And we referenced earlier that the World War II generation, they may have already made their decisions as far as their health care, but that doesn't mean that there may not be an opportunity for you inside of that family once you get to know those folks. We kid around at my house. Sometimes my parents aren't crazy about me, but they love their grandchildren. So there's always that opportunity there if you'll just ask enough questions of why, and if there's any way that I can help someone. If you approach it with the attitude of servitude and gratitude, the doors will open for you all day long. We would encourage all of you to take out a Humana contract with Messer Financial Group and attend that meeting with us in Greenville, South Carolina on the 25th. If interest warrants it, which I hope it will, we'll look at scheduling some more trainings with Mark in Georgia and in North Carolina. So it's really up to you guys on the webinar today if that takes place. And I would ask Mark to just kind of go back, Mark, and talk a little bit about, without getting too much into detail, why TRICARE for Life is often confused with VA benefits, and just a little bit of the difference in why you would want to make sure that we always put the agent, or actually the agent would put themselves in a position of becoming the advocate for that veteran and just helping them understand, because I don't believe a lot of veterans really understand what they're eligible for. To use my father as an example, it wasn't until in the last couple of years as the news has made light of the VA opportunities and the need for help from the federal government to upgrade those facilities, that there are a number of watch lists that are available depending on what conflict they served in and based on some of the things that were used there. So there's the Agent Orange list. There's, for those folks that were fortunate enough to go to Camp Lejeune with the Marines, there's an issue of water quality there. So if you just want to talk on that for a minute, Mark, that'd be great.
Yeah, thanks for that question. And so, as I mentioned, and even during my training, a couple of weeks, I'll use myself as an example, just so it's sort of just like Jeff did there with his father. I served in the Marine Corps for 8 years. I did not retire from the Marine Corps. I'm a Desert Storm veteran, and I was also, as Jeff so noted, I was fortunate enough to have served at Camp Lejeune during the time frame that the water was contaminated, and veterans and family members who served there during that time frame do have access to care through the VA healthcare system. So I'm eligible for VA healthcare because of my Desert Storm veteran status, as well as my Camp Lejeune service. And I access the system. I use the VA healthcare system, and I don't have a service-connected disability. I don't receive any kind of pension benefits or any kind of service-connected compensation. So I'm a relatively healthy guy, but I do use the VA healthcare system for most, if not all, of my primary care. I've received great care from them. They actually, for me, I personally discovered a cancerous tumor 7 years ago about this time. So I credit them with saving my life. I received some of my initial care from the VA, but because of access, because of the distance I would have had to travel at that time to continue my care for my cancer, it was not accessible. So I was fortunate enough to have Humana, a health plan, and it wasn't a Medicare Advantage plan, of course, but it would work the same way. I was able to use my Humana plan and access a local provider that was much more convenient to me. So, but not all veterans. And what I would encourage you to do when you are talking, you ask that question, are you a veteran? Yes, I'm a veteran. Do you have another question? I would say, would you have any healthcare benefits that you have access to because of your service or your veteran status? And regardless of what they say, we would just, and I'll encourage this and give you more information about this later, is to encourage them to apply for their healthcare benefits. Because the eligibility requirements change from time to time. Certain things come up that veterans you may have applied many years ago and weren't eligible at the time, but because of things like Camp Lejeune and Agent Orange, the change in how they're recognizing Agent Orange in Vietnam, that changed. So many more veterans now have access to not only care but compensation. And as I mentioned, I think about 40, maybe 50% of maybe about 40% of the veteran population has VA healthcare coverage. With regard to TRICARE, again, a TRICARE beneficiary is someone who retired, is either on active duty or retired from the military. So again, a smaller segment of a veteran population has access to TRICARE. But some TRICARE for life beneficiaries, TRICARE beneficiaries could also have VA healthcare coverage. So, and they will have the opportunity to manage their care between TRICARE and VA. TRICARE, I'm sorry, let me back up for a second. I'm sorry, I should have said this. If you have VA healthcare coverage, in order to, you must stay in the VA healthcare system to access VA healthcare. There are instances where you can get referred to non-VA healthcare providers and have your care provided, paid for by the VA. But it's just like it's just like an HMO or any other type of health plan that you might have, where you need a referral to get outside that system and have them pay for it. Now, TRICARE for Life operates a little differently, where TRICARE for Life is not VA health benefits. It's not the VA healthcare system. TRICARE for Life beneficiaries can access providers any provider that accepts Medicare. So it's very similar to a Med Sup. So there are no networks. They pay no premium for that benefit. They really have little to no out-of-pocket expenses for TRICARE services. There's no coverage gap, so they have credible drug coverage. So there's no coverage gap like they would if they had a Medicare drug plan. So it's very good coverage. It's great coverage financially for them. But like I mentioned, there may be an occasion where a TRICARE for Life beneficiary might want to access a certain provider that only accepts Medicare Advantage plans, and that is true in some parts of all your markets with some partners in primary care and Gen Care locations and those sorts of things. Those sorts of providers, that might be, one of these TRICARE for Life beneficiaries may want to access one of those providers. So that's an instance where that might come up. So in those cases, a Medicare Advantage only plan might be, without drug coverage, might be beneficial to them. Hopefully, Jeff, did I answer your questions, or is that if I didn't muddy the water here too much before we get together?
No, Mark, that's perfect. Again, I want to encourage everyone that can make it to the Greenville meeting to please sign up and do so. And as I said, if the interest is there, which I believe it is, you guys need to call in and talk to myself or one of the other marketing directors. Let us know that you would like to see a meeting in Georgia or North Carolina, and we'll work with Mark and the good folks at Humana to set that up. We appreciate everybody being here today. Those of you that did serve, thank you again for your service. or if you had a family member that stepped up and answered the call, we appreciate them as well. We encourage you to join us at that meeting in Greenville on the 25th. Mark will be there, and we'll really get into the different categories here and how you can help those folks. And again, similar to what I mentioned about when you're working in the special needs area, just make sure that you position yourself as an advocate. Mark mentioned it as well. There's so many changes going on inside of the government that somebody that may or may not have qualified for benefits before, all of a sudden they're approved. But if you never ask, you'll never know. And for a lot of these people, they're too proud or too humble to feel like they deserve or warrant that respect and that help. But the truth of it is that they do. And we want you to help those folks find that aid that they so righteously have earned. So with that, I'm going to close this out today. I want to thank Mark for his service and for his commitment to this with Humana. And I hope to see all of you at the meeting in Greenville on the 25th. If you have any questions, again, please reach out to us here at Messer. We'd love to contract with you for Humana, get you out in the field, and start producing those apps for Humana as well. I'll send out an email today for everybody that did attend with some facts and figures about the VA and the number of beneficiaries that could live in your area and some of the terms that Mark spoke of today. Mark, anything from you?
No, sir. I'm good. I'm very much looking. Nope, I'm good. Thank you. Have a good rest of the day, and I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you guys have a great Thursday. We appreciate your participation. Please give us a call here and talk to myself or the other marketing directors. We'll get you squared away and look forward to seeing you in just a couple of weeks. Everybody have a great day. Thank you so much for attending.